Hey friends, and welcome back for another video. If you're new here, hello, welcome. My name is Kate. Here on this channel we talk all about mom life, we talk a lot about foster care and adoption, and intentional living and living with purpose. I believe there's power in purpose, and I'm really passionate about sharing that message. So if any of that interests you, I would love to have you subscribe and join the community here on YouTube. Today's video is answering a question that I get really often, and it's how do you do it? How do you foster? I wrote a blog post recently, and I will link it down below, but it's called Refine Me, Foster Care and the Gospel. For one, I feel like it's my calling. Caring for vulnerable children has been weaved into my life since I was very young. I grew up beside a foster home, and when I was in my later years of elementary, my best friend was a foster kid. I didn't treat him any differently. He wasn't any differently. He was just my best friend. And it's so funny because I moved cities and I live almost an hour away from where I grew up now. And he actually lives in the same city, and our daughters were in the same ballet class. So all these years later, I think he moved around grade 9, but all these years later I was able to reconnect with him, and then our kids were in swimming together at the same gym, so I was able to see him there. I haven't seen him recently, but I just think how cool that is that God kind of brought him back into my life. But also growing up seeing my parents care for my brother who has Down syndrome, and all the vulnerable children and all of the ways they had to advocate for him and fight for him and support him, that really impacted my decision to become a foster parent. And my first missions trip was when I was 18, and just going to the orphanages just broke me. Seeing all of the poor and needy children there just broke me, but and specifically the orphanages when they didn't have a mom and a dad, or even just a mom or just a dad. They didn't have anybody who loved them like that. That just broke my heart, and I think right then and there I knew I would be involved in adoption some way or another. And as we've gone on, there's another video where I explain more about this, but I'll link it up here. As we continued kind of in our marriage and on our journey, adopting through foster care felt like the right path for us. Going to Nicaragua and seeing those kids in the orphanages, it just gave me a whole new perspective, and it completely changed my life. And then, as you know, if you've been here a while, I am a Christian, and James 1:27, it is my life verse. It speaks to me every single time I read it, and it's pure and undefiled religion is this, to care for widows and orphans in their time of need. And depending on what version of the Bible you read, that kind of varies. But at the end of the day, to me, I feel like God is calling us as Christians to care for orphaned children and to care for widows, to care for those who don't have somebody else to care for them. I think that's the ultimate love, the ultimate sacrifice, and the ultimate picture of God's love for us. We're all adopted into His family. And I think when we can give that to others, it's the perfect picture of what religion is. And not all the rules and laws and regulations. Jesus calls us to love others. And I think your life will only truly ever be fulfilled when you give beyond yourself and you do more beyond yourself and your immediate family. And I'm not saying that has to be foster care for you, but I believe as Christians, every Christian should have a ministry, and foster care is the ministry that my husband and I felt called to at this point in our life. And that doesn't mean that it's something that you do forever, but if you are a Christian, and especially if you're not feeling fulfillment in your life, you need to search beyond yourself and be in the Word and be praying and ask God, what your ministry should be. People will say, I don't feel God's voice or God's direction, but are they seeking Him? Are you spending time daily in the Word? Are you spending time daily praying? He's not going to speak to you if you're not seeking Him. You can't just sit around comfortably and wait for your calling, or wait to hear the Lord's voice. God will open doors or close doors and open windows, but you can't just sit around and do nothing. You need to be purposefully living your life. So to answer it, that's how I foster. I foster because I believe in Jesus Christ. I believe in God, and I believe that He calls me to help these kids. And even in the hard times and in the broken times, and when I'm on a deep dip in the roller coaster and it seems like I can't do it anymore, I have the Lord to cling to, and that's how I can foster. Foster parenting is hard, but being a foster child is harder. And I'll say this to people often, I am emotionally stable as an adult to deal with the grief and the loss, but these kids aren't. And if they don't have solid, stable adults in their lives helping them, it's just a vicious cycle that continues and continues and continues. And overall, our future and our culture just gets worse. I feel a responsibility to my Lord, I feel a responsibility to my community, and I feel a responsibility for these kids. So that's how I do what I do. And will I be a foster parent forever? I don't know. This is where I feel called now, but I don't know if the Lord will change that. It's something I'm deeply passionate about, and I feel like I'll always be involved in some way, shape, or form. But will I actually be a physical foster parent for the rest of my life? I'm not sure. I'll get older and seasons will change and things will happen, but I just believe I'll follow wherever the Lord directs me. And right now that's foster care, and that is how I do it and why I do it and who I do it for. Of course for these kids and these families, but for the Lord. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. It really helps my channel to grow and to reach more in the foster care and adoption community. Share it if you know someone that might be encouraged by this message. Subscribe if you're new here. I'd love to have you, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.